Hi, Andy Biggs here from Arizona's 5th Congressional District. I'm doing a series of videos on the current proposed continuing resolution and budget impasse that we have in Congress. So, last video I talked about what is the budget process, what it's supposed to be, and CRs. Now just provide you some additional information. So not only are we operating on the COVID era numbers, last December when we passed another CR, and then we did another laddered CR earlier this year, followed by 2 mini buses where you took the areas of government divided in 2 big omnibus bills, but we call them mini buses because it's not the monolithic CR. We actually added more spending to it, to the Biden-Schumer-Pelosi spending package called the Inflation Reduction Act. So that kind of gives you where we are. And so now I want to explain the current proposal by some of my colleagues. And then in the next videos, I'll explain the options that I've put forward. And then I'll explain to you what all will be in this CR that will continue. So the continuing resolution that they have here includes the levels of spending that were in the Inflation Reduction Act, which is the COVID era. Literally hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars on things like the Green New Deal, Planned Parenthood funding, etc. A whole plethora of spending goes on. The proposal that is going to come to the floor of the House of Representatives today says you will keep those spending levels and all those policies in place for 6 months, so sometime to the end of March. Now, it's important to understand why they're doing it to the end of March. First of all, they want to get it passed, try, if they could, get it past what we call the lame duck, the post-election, and hopefully they would get it into the new president's term of office. The new president will be sworn in January 20th, 2025. People like me hope that it's Donald Trump and advocate for that. But that's why they want to get to March. They don't want to go into April, because if you go into April, then Representative Massey from Kentucky managed to get an attachment to a previous big spender that would say that if you have a continuing resolution that's still in effect on April 1st, then the whole budget has to be cut by 1%. And they don't want to go there either, because they don't want to cut spending here, just to make no mistake. Congress does not want to cut spending. There are those of us who do, but not this group. So in this CR, they're going to keep spending at the same level, same policies, till March. That's their proposal. And they're going to do something that happens fairly frequently here. They want to dress it up just a little bit, so they want to give you something to argue about. And so this year, one of the previous iterations, we did H.R. 2. Not this package, but we previously did H.R. 2, and H.R. 2 is a great border security package. We had already passed it out of the House. The Senate wouldn't take it up. And so once again, they're trying to attach something with regard to the border, because the border is a massive crisis. They know it's an 80-20 issue. So I won't go into full detail on the SAVE Act, but I'll just say this. I'm a co-sponsor of the SAVE Act, and that's what they want to attach to the CR. And the SAVE Act says you got to be a U.S. citizen to vote in a federal election, right? Which makes sense, right? That is the law already, but it's not being enforced, so this is to bring it forward again. Now, the way to think of that is Arizona has a bifurcated system. Not all states do, but we have bifurcated ballots. So you'll get a ballot, an integrated ballot, if you are a U.S. citizen. That'll have the federal and state officers and propositions and everything on that. But if you go in and you don't prove that you're a U.S. citizen, and by the way, we did that through a 2004 voter proposition. So we've voted on that in Arizona, saying you have got to show U.S. citizenship to register to vote in a state or local election. Right? That's the law, unique in the country. But because we don't control the federal ballot, and the feds don't enforce it, we allow people without proof of citizenship to vote in our federal elections in Arizona. That's the problem, and so that now there's litigation going on in Arizona. So the SAVE Act would say, no, you can't. You have got to be a U.S. citizen, even though that's the federal law, right? That's the federal law currently. So the problem with that, I mean, it's a great law. I think it's great. I'm a co-sponsor of it. The problem is we are already voting in states. And so there's a real question of whether that will be effective in 2024. Number two, the way this process works is after we pass this out, this goes to the United States Senate. And Chuck Schumer is not going to, he doesn't have to bring the SAVE Act as part of the CR to the floor. He actually has at least half a dozen other vehicles, including the four of the 5 appropriations bills that we sent to Chuck Schumer earlier to the Senate. So they don't have to do the SAVE Act at all. But in the meantime, you will have approved the spending levels of the continuing resolution. That's the problem. That's the problem. So this is not, and by the way, there are many in here, there isn't anybody in Congress who doesn't know that that's going to happen on 999,999 times out of 100,000, out of a million. It is. It's going to happen every time. And it's going to happen this time. But they tell me they want to be able to talk about something. And I would say this. We already passed the SAVE Act out of the House. And it's sitting in the Senate. And we can continue to be talking about that now that the Democrats voted. I think almost every one of them voted against the SAVE Act. They want illegal aliens to vote in federal elections. You don't need to attach it to this bill to have that talking point. We've got it now, and if we're not saying it enough, then we need to say it more. Then I'll tell you one last point. The leverage to get the SAVE Act passed is not to give them the spending bill that you don't want at the same time. The leverage you have is to say, we're not going to give you your spending bill until you pass the SAVE Act. That's your leverage. Anyway, that's this video, and I'll move on to the next topic in my next video.